2015 Mountain Valley News High School Football Preview Show. I'm Monk Blevins, this is Logan Wright, and we're going to be coming to you each week talking a little high school football. Logan?
You'll be able to watch us each Thursday night at 7:30 on FTC TV. We're also going to be broadcasted on the radio on WFPA. It's also going to be on Thursday night. It's going to be at 6:30. And we'd also like to encourage you to get a copy of our Mountain Valley News magazine. It's got all the high school football teams in it. It's a great asset to have if you're a big high school fan like we are.
Absolutely. This magazine's great. You know, we brought this for the first time last year, and man, it has been a big hit, and I'm excited about this year's magazine, Logan. I think we got a lot of good information.
I've seen it. It looks great.
And it's going to look really good. So I encourage everyone to pick up a copy of that. You know, you can drop by our office and pick up a copy. If you have a subscription with Mountain Valley News, it's free. If you don't have one, you can buy it for $10, or you can actually get a subscription from now to February for $12, and you'll get the magazine free. So we do encourage you to come by and pick that magazine up. Well, Logan, you know, it's time. You know, they've been practicing all summer, 7-on-7 camps. We've been talking, you know, they've been beating heads, been beating each other up, and it's finally game week, you know, and I know everyone's excited, and I'm excited. And let's go ahead and start talking about the teams. You know, the first game we've got will be Collinsville at Cedar Bluff. You know, this Collinsville team comes in last year, they had a 4-6 record. You know, Coach Ernie Willingham, I'm telling you, this team started out smoking last year, and then they got a lot of players hurt. And, you know, it kind of fell off at the end. But he has a lot of returning starters this year. We have 7 on offense, and he has 9 on defense. You know, some of the players he's got that are going to be real to watch for this year. The newcomer at quarterback is Grant Jones. And this kid, just talking to Ernie, is going to be a really good quarterback. He's just got to, you know, he hadn't played that much, and just get a little game experience. They've got Tyler Blakely returning as a running back. And, man, they've got a huge offensive and defensive line. DeAndrew Gray, I mean, this guy is a monster, and also Montrell Hill. So those are guys you need to look for Collinsville. You know, they were in a jamboree game with Geraldine on Thursday night. Actually, Geraldine beat them 20-6, but you know, I think this Collinsville team, you'll see them, they'll get better each week. And, you know, I think the key to Collinsville this year is just staying healthy. So what's your thoughts on Collinsville?
They were definitely hindered by injury last year, and they still managed to go 4-6, which isn't a horrible record, but you can always improve on that. Like you said, they have a house at the D-line right there. Their whole offensive line is massive. And as long as they can stay healthy, they're going to improve on this record this year, and I believe they're going to be one to look out for. I believe they're going to go a lot farther than they did, maybe even make a playoff run.
Yeah. Coach Ernie Willingham, I'm telling you, this guy, he's a great coach. We had a chance to talk with him last week, and of course, I don't know, most of you may not know Coach Willingham, but he loves the sandbag, and he was talking about that they wouldn't be that good, but you know, with these returners, I think this team can make some noise this year. So I'm excited to watch Collinsville. You know, they kick off with Cedar Bluff on Thursday night, and that should be a great game. Next, we got the Crossville Lions, and they're going to be visiting the Douglas Eagles. You know, Crossville comes in last year 0-10. Coach Cloudus, you know, man, he's a great coach. And, you know, this team, they opened up with Douglas last year, got beat in overtime 29-28. You know, they were in several football games. You know, they're in Class 4A, which is a tough class to be in. But, you know, Crossville did have a jamboree game. They actually beat Valley Head, and I think the score was 21-0. Their quarterback passed for, he had 2 touchdown passes. His name is Gan Porter, and that's a name you need to remember. This kid can fling it. And he's got a wide receiver named Blanton Jones who caught a 51-yard pass, and he also caught a 25-yard pass for a touchdown. But just talking with Coach Cloudus, you know, one of the things he said is that they got themselves in position to throw the ball by being a hard-nosed running team. And they've got a kid by the name of Blake Owens at running back is a hard-nosed runner. What you thinking about Crossville this year?
I know you talk a lot about their passing game, but I feel like their running game this year is going to make or break them. They have a great running game. They're going to have to keep that in motion. They're going to have to build on that. I know they went 0-10 last year, but there's nowhere to go but up for this team. And I think last year is sort of a stepping stone, is a milestone.
Absolutely.
And they have a lot of returners coming back, and I believe they're going to pull this
Our
one out.
next game is Ider Hornets versus the Valley Head Tigers. You know, Ider comes in from a 7-3 record last year. Man, Coach Tinker, you know, he said last year, he said we want to get back to Ider football, and you know, he talked about they wanted to be able to run it down people's throat and to play tough nosed defense, and they did that. And I think, you know, again this year, Coach Tinker, you know, he's going to play that same kind of football again this year. You know, the kids have bought into what he did last year. And I think they've got a real good chance of being as good, or if not better, than they were last year. So what's your thought on Ider?
Coach Tinker has turned this program around, and I look for them. They're going to improve every year from here on out. I mean, they made it to the playoffs last year. He's got a lot of returning starters. He's still going to have that effective run game that we expect from Ider. Like you said, Ider football. And I really think he's getting his program back to Ider football. And they're going to have a hard-nosed rushing game, and I see them running over a lot of people.
You know, the Valley Head Tigers, they've got a new coach this year. He's not, everybody knows him around here, Coach Graham, Sam Graham, and man, he is a great guy, a great football coach. You know, again, they played in the Jamboree at Crossville, and they lost 14-0 or 21-0, and you know, but they actually took the game over in the first quarter. I mean, they were running the ball and running it down their throat. You know, some of the kids they've got in the backfield, Ethan Harrison, Luke Nix, Hunter Izell. That's, you know, those guys were taking it to them. You know, I think this Valley Head team, you know, they don't have many players. I think they've got 24 players on the field, you know, or on the team, and they've got a chance to have a pretty good football team. You know, Coach Graham, they will improve as the season goes on. So what do you think about this team?
You can't really tell a lot from jamborees.
Absolutely.
Who knows? Maybe they would have came back in that rushing game. They would have scored 2 touchdowns and tied the ball game up. We don't know. We can't tell. That Crossville Valley Head game might have played out a lot differently had there been 4 quarters.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing with all these games we're talking about, jamborees. You know, one thing, you can't put a lot of stock in these jamboree games because you know, they keep it pretty bland. They don't want their first opponents to see what they're actually going to be doing. So, you know, a lot of times they just, you know, they run very vanilla plays right up the middle and just a base defense. So, you know, you can't put a lot of stock in what's going on with these jamborees. But I'm telling you, this Ider team and this Valley Head team, both, they could, you know, especially Ider, I think they are in for a great season. Valley Head, you know, they will improve. Coach Sam Graham he's a great coach and a great leader, and he's just a great person. And I look for this Valley Head team to improve each week. So let's move on to the next game. We got the Sylvania Rams, and they're going to be traveling to Sardis. You know, Sylvania had a jamboree game. They were playing Class 4A Priceville, and I tell you, Priceville, one of the things that I kept hearing after that ball game was what a great quarterback Priceville had, and you know, he sounded like he was really good. You know, Sylvania, they have a new coaching staff. Coach Putnam has come in. You know, he has played for Paul Benefield when he was at Sylvania, so you know he's going to be a great coach, and the team is going to be well disciplined. They're going to be in shape, and they're going to be able to just take it and drive it down your throat. So, you know, this Sylvania team, I think, you know, to me, this could be one of the surprise teams this year. You know, what do you think is going on here at Sylvania?
I think Sylvania's defense is what's going to make them this year. They got a new defensive coordinator in with Nick Ledbetter. Great defensive coordinator. Can't say enough about him. He coached at Plainview for a really long time. I believe he was at DAR before that, and everywhere he's went, he has built a great defense. And I expect nothing less at Sylvania.
Oh, absolutely. I know just from what I've heard, Coach Ledbetter, you know, in the Jamboree, he run all kinds of different fronts, and so I think, you know, probably one of the things he was doing, he didn't want to give away to Sardis actually what he's going to be doing. He wants them to think about what they're going to be running. But I tell you, this Sylvania team, I'm looking for big things. Just looking at their schedule, you know, if they can get past Sardis this week, I think they have an opportunity to be undefeated when they meet Fife in the 5th game. And man, you talk about an exciting fan base. If they're undefeated going into the Fife game, man, that's going to be a heck of a football game.
I expect big things out of Caleb Robeck in the backfield of Sylvania. I expect him to gain a lot of rushing yards this year. I think he's going to determine how well this offense plays out.
Oh, absolutely. Our next game is Plainview at Glencoe. You know, Plainview comes in, they're in their jamboree. They beat Sardis, I think it was 21-12. You know, again, Plainview has a new coaching staff. Of course, they lost their Hall of Fame coach in Dale Pruitt. I mean, he is, you know, he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach, Alabama Hall of Fame coach, and they have a Dusty Goodwin who's come in from Eufaula this year, and you know, Plainview, not only have they got a new coaching staff, also they lost 19 seniors, but now they have some returning players. You know, a couple of standouts on offense is John David Martin, who is going to be missing the first few football games, but man, this kid can motor. He is fast and he knows how to run the football. Also, they have the Kirk kid who can, man, he's 6'6", and he can go up and get the football. And you know, he goes both ways and he played cornerback last year, and I think he's moving to safety this year. But he was an all-state cornerback last year. So they've got some players who can make some noise. You know, defensive wise, they've got 8 returning starters who were on and off starters last year. So you know, this Plainview team has got a chance of being good, but you know, they open up with Glencoe. I'm telling you, though, Glencoe in their jamboree, they played Gordo this last week, and they lost 28-21. You know, one thing about Gordo, if they're a 2A school, but one of the things I had read this week is they actually have the #1 player in the state of Alabama. His name is Ben Davis. He's a linebacker. So, you know, this Glencoe team is going to be good again. You know, they made it to the semifinals last year, and so I'm anxious to see how Plainview faces this Glencoe team, so how they man up to them.
Look at that Plainview Glencoe game last year. Plainview has this game won at halftime, and they give up. They throw in the towel, and Glencoe comes back and beats them.
Yeah, you know, Plainview had a chance in that ball game. They were up 14-0, and actually broke one, and they wound up fumbling the football, if you remember, going down the sideline, and you know, they could have been up 21-0, and you know, who knows, that touchdown could have broken Glencoe's back. But you know, this is a different season. You know, it's going to be tough on Plainview, a new staff. You know, 19 seniors who they lost last year, but you know, this Plainview team, like I said, I think they've got a chance. I think they've got a chance.
This Plainview team, to me, is the biggest unknown of all the 3A teams around. Because I mean, we really don't know that much about them. They're going to have so many starters that don't really have that much experience, and that's not saying they're not going to be able to contribute. But we haven't seen them play before. We don't know this coaching style. We don't know what sort of offense. So I'm anxious to watch them just to see how they turn out.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about our next game. It's New Hope at Fort Payne. Man, you know, this may be one of the more exciting football games this week. You know, Coach Paul Ellis has done an absolutely fantastic job at Fort Payne. You know, they come in last year and had a great team. Smith was their quarterback, and he gets hurt midway through the season, and so everybody's thinking, man, what's going to happen now? But you know, steps in Tyler Ellis. He was a 9th grader last year, and this is Coach Ellis' son, and he comes in, man, and lights it up first ball game. So, you know, he'll be the starting quarterback this year, and he has a chance to do well. Also, they have coming back Desmond Turner. He got hurt last year, and he'll be back this time. Man, he is a great running back. He can smoke it, and I think Fort Payne has a chance to have a really good football team this year.
Talk about New Hope at Fort Payne. Give out Adam Browner, the quarterback from New Hope. One of the better quarterbacks from around here. He's an SEC prospect. I've had the opportunity to play against him myself. He can hurt you in the air, or he can tuck it and run it for a first down. He's a dual threat quarterback, and I think he's going to gain a ton of yards this game, but I think that Fort Payne defense is going to be too much. They have so many returning starters, and they're all athletes. It's going to be a tough one for him.
One of the kids that Fort Payne got, and I think maybe he was at Dade County last year, or he transferred last year, but he was hurt, Reed Hogan. And this kid has got a chance to, I know Auburn has looked at him in several colleges. Big kid, I mean, big kid. And if he can come back from that knee injury he had last year, this kid can play. He is big and he's strong, and he'll make some noise for Fort Payne on the line and on the defensive line. So next we got the Cleveland Indians going to Pisgah. This ought to be a great game. You know, Cleveland was probably the surprise team last year. You know, when we started talking last year, we didn't know a whole lot about Cleveland. I do know one thing about Cleveland this year. They've got a stud running back who'll be coming back for them this year. And, man, I'm telling you, he was tough, hard to bring down. So, Pisgah's going to have their work cut out for them. I know Pisgah actually opened the season this week against Section, and you were there to cover that game. So talk to us about Pisgah.
Pisgah actually won the week 0 is what they're actually calling it in the state. They defeated the Section Lions 28-14. Now, Pisgah's quarterback, his name is Audie Smothers. This is a smart kid. He makes good reads. He only throws it where his receivers come down with it. He's not going to beat you on the ground game, but his decision making can affect you. I think he's a great quarterback, and we talk about Pisgah struggling with leadership a little bit over the past few years. I think he'll step up, and I think he'll be a leader for this team, and I expect them to have a pretty good record this year with him at quarterback.
Right. One of the things, Coach Doug Haynes comes in after Sean Peak. He left the program this year, but, I don't think that will affect him because this Doug Haynes, he was an assistant coach, and I don't think you'll see anything change from what Pisgah did last year. They've got a lot of returning starters, and sounds like they had a great game against Section Friday night. And I look for big things from Pisgah. They with the returners they've got, and Pisgah always plays hard in those football. And this will be a great game against Cleveland, and we'll see how well Pisgah's going to be this year right off the bat. Man, opening up with Cleveland is not an easy task. So. Our next game, we got Dade County at North Sand Mountain. North Sand Mountain comes in. They were 1-9 last year. They had a new coach. He come in, Jeff Monroe, come in last year and to take over the program. And man, they struggled. They struggled defensively, offensively. But the one thing, and this is very odd, they've got 11 returning starters on offense, and they've got 11 returning starters on defense this year. So. I don't think you could get much better as far as returning starters. So, what do you think about North Sand Mountain and their season?
Well, they didn't have that great of a year last year. I know Coach Monroe personally. He's a great guy. I think he's going to turn that program around. I don't know if it'll be this year, though. We talk about how they have 11 starters on both sides of the ball returning. That's unheard of. That is going to affect them a lot this year. They're going to have a lot of experience in there. Now they just need size. I think some of the kids have bulked up. They're a little bit older, a little bit more mature. It should be a lot better North Sand Mountain team this year than it was last year.
Yeah. Well, our last game is going to be the Mountain Valley game of the week. We got the Fife Red Devils. They'll be traveling down to Geraldine. Geraldine comes in. In their jamboree. Man, they took it to Collinsville. I guess that surprised me about as much as any jamboree game, but, man, they were hard-nosed and run the football, and, Coach Walter comes in as the new head coach this year, and he's another one of those Paul Benefield players. He played for Paul, and when you see them play, you're going to know he played for Coach Benefield because it looks, he'll be running the same type offense, and they're going to be hard-nosed, and they're going to run it down your throat, and they're going to be running misdirections, and, you're looking every which way to find the ball. The thing with them is, they'll run 4 plays, but they run it in so many different sets, and it's amazing to watch how that, when a team like that can run the football that way. So, this is going to be a great matchup. Last year, Fife went into Geraldine game, and they had lost to Geraldine the previous year, so it was, they were out for blood, and man, did they get blood. They opened up the season against Geraldine and beat them 38-7, and this is going to be a great football game. So
we talk about how similar their offenses are. I mean, they're both in that tight little wing tee, and they like to lull you to sleep. They'll run short little sweeps and short little traps and try to get to the corner, and then boom, double handoff for 80 yards. No one expects it, except they're playing each other. So now this is going to be fun to watch. It's going to see a battle of 2 coaches. You can't talk enough about that Fife team last year.
Oh, man.
State champions. We talked to Coach Benefield last year, and we asked him how he thought his team was going to be, and he said they're going to be pretty good, but they're going to be even better next year. Well, next year's here.
Absolutely.
And a lot of these kids have grown up, and they're a lot bigger now. We know Fife is always going to be well conditioned. They're always going to be in great shape. It's going to be a tough one for Geraldine.
I tell you, Fife comes in and they got their quarterback back, Will Mashburn, man, and he's a great athlete, great quarterback, and he'll be tough. They lost Austin Stiefel at running back, but they've got a kid coming in, the Kirkpatrick kid, that can fly, and probably, don't be surprised if he doesn't turn out to be a better running back than Austin Stiefel was. He's a little bigger, and he's a lot faster. So I'm telling you, this team, I'd be surprised if I was making predictions right now. I'd say Fife will probably be playing for another state championship this year. If they can stay healthy and and stay focused, man, they have a chance of a two-peat here. And I don't know, probably in our area, I don't know that anybody's ever done that. So
we talked about running backs. You can't leave out Brian Jimenez from Geraldine.
Absolutely.
He's built like a fullback, but he runs like a halfback. This kid can scoot. He's 100% pure athlete. I know they said he got injured with a couple plays left, and hopefully he'll be back and healthy because Geraldine's definitely going to have to lean on him this year. But I'm interested in seeing what he does this year with the ball in his hands.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've talked about all the teams, and kind of broke it down, and now it's time for us to make our picks. This is one of the things we'll be doing each week. We'll pick our winners, and hopefully I'm the defending champion on the picks, and I'm going to try to defend that championship this year. So let's go ahead and make our picks for this week. We got Collinsville at Cedar Bluff. Who you got in this one?
I'm picking Collinsville in this one. I see it being close, but near the fourth quarter, I see Collinsville coming out with this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Collinsville too. I think, again, Ernie Willingham has done a great job everywhere he's been, and just talking to him, I feel like he was sandbagging. This Cedar Bluff team is always good, but I'm going with Collinsville. I think they'll pull this one out. Our next game, we got Crossville at Douglas. Who you got in this one?
I'm going to go with Crossville. We talked about Crossville having that tough loss to Douglas last year in overtime. Well, I see them wanting revenge this year, and I see them coming out and just scooping to the ball. That defense is going to get after it. I'm picking the Crossville Lions.
I'm going with Crossville too. I think, Coach Cloudus has got this team ready this year, after going 10-0 last year. 0-10, excuse me. I think they've got a chance, I know they were excited after winning the Jamboree, and just to feel to be able to win a game, and I know they'll be excited this week. I know Douglas, they opened up with DAR last week, and they got beat pretty handily by DAR, 27-7. So I'm going to call Crossville getting their first win in the last couple of years. So I'm going with the Crossville Lions. Our next game is Ider at Valley Head. Who you got in this one?
Oh, I think Coach Tinker's going to have his team ready, and they're going to be just firing out the jets, and they're going to be ready to go from the start to finish. I think Ider pulls this one out.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going with Ider. Again, Coach Tinker has got this team where he wants them after last year. He got back to that hard-nosed football. Again, Coach Graham is going to do a fantastic job at Valley Head, but he's going to have to build that program back up, but he'll do a great job. But I think Ider's going to be just a little too much for him this year. Our next game, we got Sylvania at Sardis.
I see Coach Ledbetter really getting his defense ineffective, and you talked about how he switched up defensive front and coverages and stuff. Well, I think he's going to have his core defense in there this game, and I see Sylvania's defense being too much to handle, so yeah. Sylvania's coming out on this one. I'm
going with Sylvania too. I know one of the things they've got a young team. The Roebuck kid, man, he's a player. But I think, the quarterback, this is the first time he's played football, and, he's got his feet wet now, and he'll settle down, and I think you'll see the Sylvania team start rolling. And again, like I had mentioned earlier, I think, if they can get past this football game, they've got a chance of going into the Fife game undefeated. So I look for Sylvania to pull out the victory. This will be a close game. They'll be traveling to Sardis, and I think it's going to be close, but I'm going with the Sylvania Rounds in this game. Our next game, Plainview at Glencoe.
This is actually the hardest pick for me because we talk about this Plainview team being an unknown. I want to watch them play a little bit. I want to watch these kids mature and see how they start to build their program. But I'm going to go with Glencoe this week.
I'm going with Glencoe also. I think Plainview, like we've talked about, they're kind of in a rebuilding year. They've got a chance to improve each week. But I don't think this is the game that you want to start out trying to improve with. Glencoe comes in from the semifinals last year, and I think Plainview will be traveling to Glencoe, and I think it's just going to be too much for them in this game. So I'm going with Glencoe. Our next game, New Hope at Fort Payne.
I see in Fort Payne's running game, they're just gonna run all over them. I'm picking Fort Payne all the way on this one.
Well, I'm going with Fort Payne too. New Hope. I think the Browner kid, he'll air it out, and he'll throw for a couple of 100 yards probably. But this Fort Payne team is going to be tough, and Coach Ellis has done a fantastic job, and I think they'll just be a little too strong. They'll be at home, and opening game, and I think they'll be. You'll see this Desmond Turner. I think he'll show you what he's capable of doing before he was injured last year. So I'm picking Fort Payne. Next game, Cleveland at Pisgah.
I'm going to go with the Pisgah Eagles. I see Pisgah quarterback. He's got Audie Smothers. He's just going to continue to mature. He's got some great wide receivers, and he has a great running game behind him, and their line is massive. I see them taking the victory over Cleveland this week.
All right, we're going against each other on this one. I'm going with Cleveland. I tell you, this was one of the hardest picks for me, and I've been leaning toward Pisgah all week, but the more I thought about this running back from Cleveland, man, last year they had a great season, so they know how to win. Pisgah, they struggled last year, and I think they've got a lot of returning players, but I want to see how they can handle, if they get behind, if they can come back. But I just think this Cleveland team is going to be a little bit better, so I'm going with Cleveland this week. Our next game, Dade County at North Sand Mountain.
We talk about Coach Monroe and how he's rebuilding this program, and I think he will, but I think that's going to happen later in the season. I think it's kind of a tough one for North Sand to start out with. I'm going to have to go with Dade County.
I'm going with Dade County too. I think, again, I think you're right. North Sand Mountain, they got 22 returning players, and they've got a chance to improve. But this is not, again, like some of the other games, this is not one you want to open up with. I think Dade County will be a little too much for them this week. All right, the Mountain Valley News Game of the Week. We got Fife versus Geraldine. Who you got in this one?
I mean, you can't pick against the returning state champions. I'm going with Fife in this one. I'm sorry, Geraldine.
Yeah. This Geraldine team, I think they're going to be pretty good. After the Jamboree, they were a little bit questionable, but sounds like they're on the right track and could have a good season. But I tell you what, they may have a good season, but I think Fife's going to have a fantastic season. So I'll tell you what, I'm going with Fife Red Devils, and I look for them to win the state championship again. So, it's going to be a rough night for the Geraldine Bulldogs, but I think they will improve as the season goes on. But this Fife team, they'll be clicking on all cylinders, and they're going to be hard to stop. It doesn't matter who they're playing. So, all right, that wraps it up for this week, Logan. I'm excited about football season. I'm excited about seeing this week's games. We got some great football games coming this week, and I can't wait to see what happens. Man, we're gonna come back next week, and we're gonna break down these games and talk about these games, and we hope you guys will come back and be with us next week. For Monk Blevins and Logan Wright, we'll see you next week.